Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater, and I finally, it took me a month, but I finally got around to watching The Witcher. Now, I have complaints with how Netflix doles out content. Binging is hard for me to get into within the very first week or four of a show's release because I got two kids and it's hard for me to find the time to sit down to actually watch something like The Witcher. But I finally did. I took the time, I set it aside, and I went through the whole thing in a couple days. And I have to honestly say, man, that was really good. That was better than I expected, and I was a little bit worried about it when I first learned of who was going to be running the show and her political leanings. That's not to say that they're different from my political leanings, but I didn't know how much of that was going to apply to something that could be considered a very morally gray world, which is one of my favorite aspects of The Witcher in general. Now, first and foremost, my experience with the show has everything to do, or I should say, my experience with the world is everything from the games. I've played Witcher 2 and I've played Witcher 3. That's it. I haven't read the books, although I do want to now, and I've seen the show. So I, like a lot of people out there, my knowledge comes straight from just playing the game. And the greatest thing about that is this was so heavily modeled after the game. Henry Cavill is a huge Witcher fan, right? Right before they announced, or right when they had started talking about the show in 2018, he was doing a press tour for Mission Impossible Fallout, and he was talking about the game The Witcher, and I think they asked him a question about the show, and he said, oh, he's a big fan of the show, or a big fan of the game, and he was on his third playthrough for The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt. And if you played Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt, you know how big and massive that game is. So his playthrough is clearly something he has taken his time with. I mean, this is Henry Cavill, who's, nerdy kind of claim to fame was the old story about how he almost missed out on the audition for Superman because he was raiding in World of Warcraft, right? This dude is a massive, massive nerd. And I love that about Cavill because Cavill took everything he loved about Geralt of Rivia and he put it into the show. And he put it into the character, and it felt like I was actually watching Geralt from the Wild Hunt in the show, and I loved it. There were a couple times where it didn't really match up, like the hard, raspy voice of Geralt is very difficult for Henry Cavill to yell in. He tried, to his credit, but it was when he was doing like the very kind of apathetic, cynical takes and the grunting, like I was like, yeah, that was great. I really, really, really enjoyed it. So the story kind of jumps around a little bit. That was something a lot of people I had read had some problems with. I didn't have any problems with the story at all in that regard. I kind of figured it out pretty quickly, but then again, maybe because I'd already known that anything involving Yennefer was going to take place like about 70 years before where we meet Ciri, then I just maybe already had that knowledge and it just didn't impact me well enough. So that's me on that one. I don't know. You could have different mileage. Now, I was concerned about Yennefer of Valkenburg, right? I was concerned about Yennefer's character because I was wondering how they were going to pull it off. Yennefer in the show doesn't really look like Yennefer in the games, and Triss Merigold, who is a ginger in the games, is not a ginger in the show, and there is an actual thing in Hollywood about ginger eraser, and I have a whole video about that on another channel where I did dive into that whole prospect because there's a lot of things that happen with that, but I can say that I really do like not only Yennefer as well as the actress who played Triss. I thought she did a pretty good job. So Yennefer's story, I didn't know that she was a cripple. I did not know that she was considered, a twisted girl, that she was treated the way she was treated. I didn't know any of that. So getting her backstory was really cool. And also the manipulation that she does and her trying to get ahead and everything else, I thought was pretty cool. And then I also like seeing her transformation because what was great was that realization that even though she got ultimately everything she wanted by the sacrifice that she gave and everything else, at the end of it, she still wasn't happy. She still would never be happy. And that was that's the price we pay. And that's a lot of how the show is. Again, very morally gray, which I thought was awesome, right? It's very ambiguous or ambiguous in regards to its morals. And like, like they go, oh, Witcher, you have to go do this thing. And he's all like, pay me money and I'll go do it. Or no, I'm not going to kill this person because you want me to. And I liked that there was a lot of that came up. Probably like the only thing, let me talk about Ciri. So Ciri was another thing that I was a little bit curious how they were going to play that one off, because they don't come out and say how old Ciri is in the show. Freya Allan is definitely on the younger side. I think she's 17 years old in real life. And in the show, she's 12. They don't tell you that till basically at the end, when it's a one line of dialogue that if you're not paying attention, you're basically going to miss. But a lot of that was there. She's 12 years old in the show, and that makes a lot more sense. Now, the thing with Ciri, I liked her journey. I liked that she was being tracked down by the Nilfgaardian, and I like that, I like the whole storyline on that front, right? The Nilfgaardians, they're trying to bring about basically like the Second Coming, and they need Ciri. So that's why they focused all their attention on Citra. And that ended up, obviously not going well for anyone in Citra, because, that whole thing fell apart. But I liked Ciri's journey. I liked her going through and then kind of coming into her own a little bit, and also trying to find her own voice, literally, in some aspects. And then her just trying to survive. I thought that was a kind of cool way to have her story. And of course, at the end of the story, her and Geralt finally meeting, it felt like fate, or the destiny will always find each other. She's going to be the girl in the woods, all that stuff I thought worked out really well. And it was a nice way to tie up the first season. Now, let me basically kind of say what I really like about it, and I'll talk about what I didn't like about it. So for one, the aesthetic of the world was awesome. The characters were a lot of fun. I felt that there was a lot of heart that went into the show, a lot of good design that went into the show, and there's a lot of really good acting across the board. And I started to care a lot about the characters. Like the last episode, when the mages were fighting the Nilfgaardians, I thought that was epic, right? Like how you've got these mages that are kind of like bound to a code, and they don't want to violate the code. And then you've got the other mage that is literally working with dark magic in a way that is just, oh my God, like, they're recruiting mages for her to basically just sacrifice for certain reasons, like, oh, we need to get we need to have this fireball to catapult at them. You become a fireball and destroy your entire body, and we're gonna do that. Or, oh, we need to bring smoke to the woods so the Nilfgaardians can run in. You become the human smoke bomb, and then you're just gonna burn up and die. And it's like, holy crap, like the magic in the show is insane. It's insane how they did. They're like, when they wanted to track the one dude down, or track Ciri down, and the guy literally like just guts himself and pulls out his intestines and then dies, and like, oh, we know she's this way now. I was like, wait, what? Like, that didn't get a lot of explanation in the beginning, so it's kind of shocking. Which is why at the end, when I started kind of putting the two and two together, I'm like, oh, okay, Frangella was just like, damn, she was crazy. But I really enjoyed how they all like worked together, and how they were all like killing the Nilfgaardians by using the magic. And it was a really cool sequence. I really enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed the episode going after the dragon. I thought that was a fun episode, even if the effects were maybe a little bit definitely made for TV, and they didn't quite fully explain how the dragon could shapeshift into the dude, or why. I mean, I know why he did it. Like, they wanted Geralt there to protect the egg. Like, I get all that. And that was a cool fight scene nonetheless. But still, it was like, okay, like, sure, why not? You know what? Screw it. There's dragons. They fly. They can shapeshift into a dude who likes to get drunk, and there's dwarves, and there's, magic, and screw it. Whatever. I don't even care. We still don't know at this point who killed the other guy too, who killed like the knight, but that knight was a brutal dude. So I'm kind of okay he got taken out. I had no problem with that. If you haven't seen it, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Watch the episode. He brutally murdered that one animal. And it's like, come on, man. Like, really? I'm okay with you dying. That animal had no, and again, in regards to the moral grayness, I'm kind of all over the place, but in regards to the moral grayness, that scene was great, because Geralt's like, if we just would have fed it, it just would have gone away. But that guy chose to go and kill it, for no other purpose than just to have a conquest on this journey. The grayness of the morality of the world. Again, the little things here and there. Really enjoyed that, right? It was you had your heroes, because Geralt was always reluctantly a hero, but he still did it, and everything else. Now, okay, again, what I liked, the acting, Henry Cavill was great. He was definitely the draw of the show. Jaskier or toss a coin to your Witcher was awesome. He was a great guy. One of the problems I had with that, though, is the show does take place over the span of about 12 years, like I pointed out, and Dandelion didn't get any older. He looked the same. And he is not a person like The Witcher or like Yennefer, a mage who doesn't age. So that was a little bit kind of weird. And also Ciri's grandmother, which I thought was her mom at first, because the woman is like, I looked her up and the actress is only like 45 years old and she's playing Ciri's grandmother. And she had the other daughter who looked nothing like her. And that whole, she was a badass character. I liked the character, but I felt the age was just so vastly different. Like it would have been better if that was her mom. It would have made more sense if that was her mom, you know. It would have made a lot more sense. But anyway, that was one of the flubs of the thing. And again, like the CG was a little off in some stuff, and some of the episodes felt like they went on maybe a little bit too long, and they could have maybe tightened up a bit more. But now we've gotten through the first season of the show, and so now that we've gotten through all that, we can now focus on telling the more cohesive story. And they've already said that they're going to focus more on a cohesive story with everybody going into the next couple seasons. The show apparently is more popular than Mandalorian, so I do assume that Netflix will most likely keep it around for at least 3 seasons. My hope is at least 7 seasons, if not 8 seasons. And the reason why I say that is because they could then do all 5 books, and then they could also talk to CD Projekt Red and then do the video games. Because I think doing Wild Hunt as the last season would be absolutely epic, and I think Cavill would heavily push for it. Now, people out there are going to argue that that's a different deal. They got to work out with CD Projekt Red. Well, the author of the book series, just before, I think it was like either just before the release of the show or just a couple weeks ago, signed up a new deal, re-signed with CD Projekt Red, re-signed his deal. So Witcher 4 is clearly something that they're going to be working on, and the popularity of the show is going to then thrust up game sales as it's already doing, because it's making the game, this being Witcher 3, more popular on Steam. In fact, it's so popular on Steam, it's the most popular it's been in nearly 5 years, because in May it will have been 5 years since the release of Witcher 3. And quite frankly, even on current consoles and current PC games, The Witcher 3 still looks fantastic. Like, it's one of the best looking games ever made. It's just, it stood the test of time. It's so well made, so well done. And also the book series has been selling pretty well. So that's pretty cool too. Like, people are now getting into The Witcher, and that's pretty fantastic. So yeah, at the end of the day, this was a great series. I had a lot of fun with it. I think if you're not a big medieval buff, you may not like it. If you don't like the game, you may not like it. There are people out there that were complaining. There was that terrible Entertainment Weekly review, but I think a lot of people out there are going to find this show organically over time, and they're going to go through. It's only 8 episodes. You can do it in a couple days, and then they're going to be on the Witcher train, and that's pretty cool too. So I'm very happy with it. I'm thankful that Netflix put it out there, and I'm curious to know what you guys had to think about it too. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. Thank you for watching, and peace out.